Hi Trevor, what are you up to?
Lorcan, how you doing? I'm just emptying out the contents of this compost tumbler. This is a job, making compost, which I do twice a year. In the spring, late spring, summer really, and in the autumn.
Not much of a summer we're having this year though.
It's been late, everything's been late, and so putting the compost together in May is not too late, to be honest. And that'll tidy the garden up, and it'll create space for the new plants that are coming on in the lovely greenhouse down there. And before that though, we have a lot of space to clear, because this is material which was gathered by multiple forays from the kitchen, bowls of kitchen waste. There's orange peel there, there's tea bags, there's little bits of paper, because the paper helps to keep the balance between the woody stuff, the nitrogen stuff, and the soft vegetable stuff. Some people might think it's smelly. It's not.
It looks gross.
It looks a bit unsavoury, but it's not really smelly. It won't be smelly when it goes in there for certain, because there'll be a lot more air getting to it, whereas when the soft stuff's all together it just becomes a bit compact. It's not too bad. I mean, I don't know whether you want to just... It's not finished compost.
Actually, there's no smell of it. Not that I can get. It's
quite,
just kind of an earthy smell.
It's an earthy smell. It's quite incredible, really. If it wasn't a tumbler and it wasn't air getting into it, I think it might smell more. That's why I like the tumbler for getting compost ready to this state, because there's worms and various things already making compost out of that. And we put it in there, but we'll layer it. And to do that we need a few tools. Just before I start, just go through the tools. Obviously the fork is handy for taking up the compost and shoving it into the composter there. When it gets smaller, I use the spade to take up the rest of it. This dangerous looking sledgehammer here is actually just simply for crushing anything that's woody, like stalks of cabbage or sunflower stalks. I just put it on the ground and mash it a bit. It just means that the small microbes can get access to it and break it down a lot quicker. So that will be going into the compost easier to break down than if it wasn't mashed with a sledgehammer. This affair here, called an aerator, but you can call it whatever you like really. The object of the exercise is like an arrowhead. It goes into the compost, and to take it out it really pulls the compost back.
Okay, the head opens up.
The head opens up, you see. It goes in like that and it opens up when you're pulling it out. So just to demonstrate very simply, if this was the compost as it will be, in it goes, but by pulling it out like that, a lot of air gets introduced into the compost, and it just stirs it around. And that's another very useful implement that I got in the garden centre. But to be honest, any kind of air that you can get into the compost, the quicker it will be to break down. So we'll get on and just pile in the soft nitrogen kitchen waste with the hedge clippings, layering it like a multi-decker sandwich as best as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just means that everything will be mixed, and the microbes, millions and billions of microbes, will be able to work together there and create essentially what will look like soil at the end, which is the object of the exercise, making compost. This compost tub is, I would call, the Rolls Royce of composters at this stage. I did build a wooden one, but after about 12 years and it falling apart, I said to myself, listen, not getting any younger, I think I'm going to build a permanent one. So I, myself and a friend, we got together, got these metal slides, and that means that the three sides are brick. The top is actually limestone slabs, which have to be very carefully moved so they don't crack. And so the lid is about 5 of those slabs, and the front is 3 boards, and these slide slide down the front like that.
Oh, very simple, and it means it's easy to get at the compost.
Very easy to get at, and year after year it'll be possible to use it without having to worry, is this the last year and must I replace it next year?
What about ventilation though? Do you not need air coming in around the sides?
There is ventilation. There's ventilation grids on the sides, top and bottom. It's on soil, so the microbes and the worms and everything can come up from below, and the nutrients can go out and feed the lovely black currant this side and the lovely raspberries on the other side, and the apple tree, which is so prolific. So it's a win-win. It's in the heart of the garden, and it's easy also for me, very important consideration, getting stuff in and getting stuff out. There's a pathway which the wheelbarrow can go along, and the patches, when they're not being used for growing, are good for storing temporarily until I can put it all in and tidy it all away and use the ground for growing food as intended.
Trevor, what's that stuff you're adding now?
Well, we're nearly finished, Lorcan. As you can see, it's nearly full, but what I've found at the bottom of all that pile of green hedge clippings was wood ash that had been put out some months ago. It's perfect to add to compost, mix it through, so it'll do very well. Full of potash, which is excellent for plant growth in general. But probably not good to put it directly onto the soil where the plants are, but to compost it first. So it's no waste from the fire. In other words, if the wood won't compost, it goes into the fire. The ash then will go into the compost, and it goes back to the soil from whence it came. So we're just finishing now. Final spadeful, really. It's too full for any more. That will, of course, subside, and it'll only maybe be about that thick at the very end in about 6 months' time. However, for the moment, I'm just going to shut it off with the final door. It's already alive with life that I can see, and of course there's such microscopic life that I can't see as well. But even these few tiger worms that are some small, some big, I mean, they're reproducing as they ought to, pretty prolifically. And as you can see, this is the kind of life that you want to encourage in your compost, because these guys just devour all that raw organic matter which the plants can't really use. They don't have a digestive system. So essentially the worms are the digestive system for the plants, and they create the food that the plants can take up. So we put them back to create lots more tiger worms and shut it off. They don't like light, so you take away the light from them and they'd be happy in there. Close off the top. From time to time, of course, I'll be going in with the aerator, just creating more air in it, because that's going to encourage the composting microbes.
But you won't add any more stuff to it?
I won't add any more stuff. It's a bit like baking a cake or a loaf of bread. You just make the mixture, close it up. I look on this as an oven, and that will cook away the compost, turn it from being a pretty unhelpful mess to a very helpful type of a soil enhancing compost. In the meantime, I have a couple of bins like this around the garden which are empty at the moment, but as I clip the hedge over the summer, or you know, as the purple sprouting broccoli here is finished, I can just shove that into these bins as a kind of a store. So while the tumbler is gathering kitchen waste, these bins will gather waste from the garden, and come the autumn, we say late September, this will all be beautiful and ready to dig out, and we can replace it then with the contents of the tumbler and the bin. So that's the compost, and in the meantime it'll be growing radishes on the top and lettuce, so no space is wasted for the summer.
And no trips to the garden centre to buy compost either?
No need to buy in compost, except for potting and seed compost, because what this does contain weed seed, and you've got to bear that in mind. But for most things it's absolutely perfect and grows great veg. So that's compost for this week.
Great. Glad I called in, Trevor.
Fault your oath.